Yesterday morning, FBI agents and Joint Terrorism Task Force officers in Minnesota and California arrested 6 men as part of a 10-month investigation into terror recruitment in Minnesota.
Terror and the threat of killers in our midst has been brought home once again as the FBI busts 6 people in 2 states connected to a national terrorism investigation. Add to this, Americans still trapped in the terror nest and a White House that can't seem to keep people from fence jumping. Let's get to the bottom of it all because it's all about security. Let's welcome in the representative for Pennsylvania's 4th Congressional District, former 2nd Lieutenant in the National Guard, the highly decorated member of the Committees on Foreign Affairs and Homeland Security, Scott Perry. Congressman, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Your news, of course, the news that we're hearing once again, as I say, as Americans, is exceptionally concerning, and it just gives you the impression, if not the reality, that the administration is completely asleep at the switch.
I can tell you right now that there are a lot of people who will say, well, at least they made these arrests, and we're being told it is a national investigation, a joint terrorism task force here. But, Congressman, how many people are we letting slip through because we're not being as hard-edged as we can in many cases to go after these people?
Well, we won't know until it's too late. And just think about this. While it's great that they caught these individuals, how many more are going unnoticed? We're counting on agencies like the FBI to be 100% correct 100% of the time. It's just not realistic. And meanwhile, forget the ones that are slipping through. What about the ones that the administration is bringing wantonly into the country?
Have we handcuffed the FBI and these various organizations? Because, again, there's so many questions about civil liberties, what you can, what you can't do, NSA spying and all the rest. So have we basically put shackles on them and made it more difficult for them to catch the people that are here?
Well, I certainly think we have. We do have to be very careful of our civil liberties, but we certainly know to the greatest extent where these individuals come from, where they emanate from, and how they operate, the circles that they operate in. And, it's not just the FBI. It could be your local police. You have New York City where they're no longer allowed to surveil mosques that are known for terrorist activity. That is clearly wrong-headed and counterproductive to law enforcement at an epic scale. And you only need to see the tragedies in the streets, whether it's Boston or whether it's Oklahoma, to remind you of what failed vigilance gets you.
We've seen new videotape this weekend of ISIS. We have again seen blood in waters. We've seen them talk about beheading people, and again, new, very slickly produced videos. There are people believing, though, and I've seen some of the stories in the last couple of days that say that we are overestimating ISIS, that they are not a fear here to the United States and here to the homeland. I would imagine that you, knowing full well what you see on a daily basis, would chafe at those stories.
Yeah, so I disagree. I concur completely. You might not see some core leadership, al-Baghdadi in the United States anytime soon. But what people fail to recognize is this is an ideology. And whether you call it ISIS, whether you call it Boko Haram or al-Qaida, it's all of the same mindset and the same ideology. And one individual can wreak a lot of havoc as opposed to hordes of them with military-style weapons running across the Great Plains. So people need to wrap their minds around that instance where, if this is happening on an epic scale in other countries, it only takes one individual to destroy many lives and our way of living right here in our local shopping areas or in our neighborhoods, and that is a very real threat.
We're now hearing stories about Americans who are still in Yemen. They have not yet been taken out. The American government has said it is simply too dangerous to remove them from the country, and they are scared for their life. What does this tell you about the current administration and not making sure that all your people are out before you pull out all your forces?
Well, listen, I think it's just another step in what seems to be a pattern, a long-standing pattern now of failure of foreign policy. Yemen, which was just only months ago decried as a success in the United States, our anti-terrorism strategy, our counterterrorism strategy, it was decried as a success, and now we can't get our folks out because it's too dangerous. And then you couple that with Libya, with the failures in Iraq, with the near failure in Afghanistan, pulling out troops too early, Egypt picking the wrong side, and Ukraine, and then saying to this president, well, we trust you suddenly in foreign policy when it comes to arming the greatest terrorist state on the planet, which is Iran. It is very, very concerning.
How can you leave behind your own people, though?
Well, we did it in Benghazi, and it's become too much of a bother for the administration to discuss and get to the bottom of, even if it means doing better in the future. They can't be bothered with it. So if it can't be bothered in Libya, why do you think it would be any different in Yemen?
We're featuring it on the Newsmax.com website as well. There are people from Buffalo, upstate New York, other places, their families, their kids actually served in the military, in the American military, and they are still stranded in Yemen. That is a terrible situation for them to be in. Congressman Scott Perry, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My privilege. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You also. Open the doors to the Monday Arena next. Cash for Clinton, Rubio, and sexual preferences. Your cable and internet bill is on the line. And oh yeah, by the way, in case you haven't happened to look at your calendar today, you may not have noticed that it is a holiday to some. It is National Weed Day. Here comes the arena, and don't smoke them if you got them. We're next.